So I think we will start. Topic of today's webinar is to show how you can do TCP port forwarding with NetXMS and use it in object tools, and a little bit about new functionality in version 4.5. Save the references in NXSL and
usage of XPath in web services.
In web services, yeah. So we will start with TCP port forwarding. I will share my screen and show a little demo how we can do that. I will start with a simple scheme, how this working. So we have an application on a workstation, and you want to connect this application over TCP to remote device, which you don't have direct access to. But if this device is reachable by a NetXMS agent, you can actually set up TCP port forwarding through NetXMS. Your application will connect to loopback interface to some ephemeral port, which will be opened by NetXMS client application. And the client application will forward data to the server, and the server will forward data to the agent. And agent will establish TCP connection to destination device. So from this remote device point of view, it will be a TCP connection from agent IP address. And the chain will forward packets back and forth. And when any party will close the connection, it will be propagated to the other end, pretty much as direct TCP connection. So I have test set up. I have a NetXMS server, which is actually running directly on my laptop, but normally it will be also remote. And I have a remote zone. If we look at the zoning configuration, we have a demo zone with some subnet, 3 devices within. One of them is actually proxy for that zone. The proxy is Linux machine with agent installed. If we take a look inside agent configuration, there are a few important parts. Your NetXMS server should be listed as master server, and you should have enabled TCP proxy enabled to enable this proxy functionality, and it's of course disabled by default. Now we can actually try to reach devices. So I have 2 devices with IP address 172.30.30.5 and 30.30.9. If we try to ping them from my machine, log, there is no direct connection. If I try to do a telnet, again, no direct connection. Now let's create an object tool for reaching it through TCP tunnel. Let's go to object tools, create a new tool. It will be, let's start with HTTP. So it will be a URL, forwarding. Okay, we will open the URL. And first of all, we have this TCP tunnel option. So you have to enable it. And you enter a remote port number to which you want to connect, actually. And then you use URL as usual, but instead of macro for target device address, you use a special macro, local address, and another macro port. In most cases, local address will be loopback, but if you will do it through the web interface, then the local address will be somewhere on the web server, actually. Close. So we have HTTP via port forwarding tool. So now let's go to the device. Should have a tool, HTTP via port forwarding. And we are connected to the device. And you see that actual URL is a loopback and some random port number. And it works fine. And so let's try to create a Telnet connection. So we will be running a local command. Again, we specify a remote TCP port 23, and we need a command, and I will just copy it. Now let's try to connect via Telnet. And we actually connected. And you see the connection goes to loopback, but it's actually a remote device. And we got our connection. And we see that we are on 7.2.30.13.9. So basically that's it. Really simple to set up and a very useful tool if you want to manage some remote devices and remote zones that you cannot connect directly from your workstation. You can connect via this port forwarding functionality. Okay. Now Tanya will talk about the rest of our agenda.
Yeah, about web services. Before 4.5, we used our own library to parse XML, and data that you can get from XML was really limited. And as you see, we had some issues and some complaints on the forum that it was not possible, for example, to get something else except the value inside of the XML. For example, it was not possible to get some attributes. So starting from 4.5, we added XPath support to our web services. So I created exactly from this example XML that is currently available from my PC. I have configured web service, your sample XML. You can see it on my PC. I've created DCI that collects the data, and it just collects result and user status. So if we will check in result and user status, it's this one. So before this XPath, it was not possible, for example, to collect display name. Now it's possible. You can just add like this display name. First of all, and you can see full name here. If we want to get display name for the second one, again, using XPath syntaxes, we will just edit our request, this. And you can see it's full name too. So it's attribute taken from the second user status, and it's the second full name. So it's a big change because like before that, options were really limited, and now with all XPath syntaxes, it's possible to get and to process much more data that we're getting as XML to web services. And second new feature that is connected with the NXSL, it's save Dereference. So what I wanted to show about save Dereference, first of all, let's open execution script view, and I will show you two different scripts. So first one, I will take this one. So what the script does, he checks if object, its variable that is always available to us, is SNMP. We will print SNMP, else we will print that it's no SNMP. We can execute it here everything will be fine. If we will execute the same thing on other object that is non-node or like the object that doesn't have this is SNMP attribute, then we will have an execution exception that it's a node attribute. Usually it was required to check that if it's like, if object's class is node, then we execute this code and so on and so on. Now it's possible just to write like this. Yeah, and now you can see that no matter what object has or doesn't have this is a SNMP attribute, we will get the result. Because save Dereference will check if it's available or if it's not available as an attribute for this object. And the same here, if we will change, like we will get the same result, but we won't get any error in case of missing attribute. Second example that I wanted to show you is thing that used a lot working with SNMP. When we need to get some additional data via SNMP in DCI, well, DCI conversion, or the script is taken from instance transformation script that gets the name of the toner that we're currently checking. So this is sample script. We're getting SNMP transport. Then we're checking if transport is not null, so that we were able to get this transport. Then we have your OID, and we're getting name and returning name, either empty string if there was no transport, or the name. Currently, we can change the script. We won't check if transport is null. And if we will execute it here, it will work. The same script executed here will be execution error. So not to have execution error if transport is null. Again, we are checking here if transport is null, and yeah, now the name is just empty. And here name is seen. So like if we want to make it even smaller, we can do it like this. Even one line. Yeah. OID. Missed. So now it was like multiple lines with if statement, and now it's one line script that will return the value if it's available, and will return nothing. I forgot to change operation, sorry. Not the note here, this one.
Actually, after node, you also can use save the reference.
Yeah. I also
and then it will work even if $node is null, for example.
Maybe it doesn't work for node. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the main idea is that you can just change all these references to save references. Okay. So most probably connectionals. So yeah, the idea is that you can change those references to save the reference and shorten your scripts and do not write a lot of this if-else statements. That's all from my side. If there's no questions, we can finish.
And of course, as usual, it will always be available as a recording on YouTube. See you next time.